Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Knights of the VENG table, and welcome to our corner of the internet. Today, I am joined by our normal host, WRB Goalkeeper, and we've got some guests, Lou TV, BrickDude228, and we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna talk about some stuff like trials and rewards, season of the hunt, things like that. So that's going to be a fun discussion. We got some more nerds, you got some casual folks, you got some people like me who's a twat with no life, and it's going to be a good time. So if you enjoy the channel, make sure you click the subscribe button, as well as comment down below if you want to give us topic ideas or just to say hello. All of those are fantastic, as well as like and share the video. Other ways to support the channel are in the description box, but the best way is to subscribe, comment, like, and share. So you guys want to go through real quick and just say hello? I can call your name out so that way people know what your voice sounds like. So Brick Dude, say something, my man.
Hello, I'm Brick Dude.
All right, Lou TV.
Yo, me again.
WRB Goalkeeper.
It's your boy again.
All right, and I am Church of Caboose. So hopefully everyone can kind of keep some voices straight, and we'll try our best to use our names every now and then in the third person like weirdos. So the first thing up, I thought we could go to Brick Dude with Season of the Hunt and the development of what is going on. Do you like it? Do you not like it? This could be lore-wise, content-wise, whatever it is. Just take it away.
I think some aspects of the Season of the Hunt are really good. I think there are other things that aren't going quite as well. I think it's... words are difficult. I think it's an interesting season, but I think compared to last season, there just seems... Last season was like a big build-up to something, and I think some people feel it wasn't... Sort of the build-up just sort of was dropped and not used for as much. Obviously, some people feel it went quite well. And I think Season of the Hunt is just then picking up some like new storylines and new aspects of that, which I think is interesting, but it's just sort of overshadowed by what last season was, if that makes any sense.
So are you feeling like it's a little anticlimactic from Season of Arrivals to Season of the Hunt, and maybe Bungie did its old history of getting some cool stuff going and then switching storylines?
I don't think they did. I don't think they did the switching storylines. I think, like, the build-up was certainly warranted for what was produced. I just think it's not the what was sort of given to people in Beyond Light, and the Beyond Light story and the darkness and everything wasn't quite as in your face as people expected. Like, you have to go looking for it. You can't. It wasn't just provided to you on a silver platter. If that makes any sense.
So is it kind of, in your opinion, like the D1 thing where there's a great story and people loved it, but it was like you had to dig through lore books and not just by playing the game? You had to put some work.
Possibly. I think it's got better in the fact you don't have to dig for lore as much. Like, there is a certain amount just provided to you. I think, yeah, like if you were prepared, like I know I and other people are, to do a bit of digging, spend a couple of hours reading some lore books, it's... The whole Beyond Light DLC, and indeed Season of the Hunt, has been very interesting for that, and has provided some interesting things.
So maybe you can confirm this question I got, because I'm curious if someone was high as a kite when they told me this. They claimed that in one of the lore books, Crow was having to hide from Guardians, and one night a Titan bumped into him and beat his head in with the bat, and then left, and then the ghost revived the boy.
That is in, ironically enough, I think I have it up.
Oh, okay, I was just curious. That sounded almost made up.
Yeah, no, I was going over that lore book, I would say, yeah, no, it talks about, I think that's another interesting one with Season of the Hunt, is the whole sort of like, do we like the Crow, do we not, and all that sort of stuff. I think a lot of Guardians have different opinions on that. But yes, there was a Titan who, basically saw Crow without his helmet off and beat him to death.
So Paul Tassi thinks the season's going to end by us accepting the Crow, and I think he said at one point it's possible that the season will end with Crow being a Vanguard. What do you think?
Vanguard, I don't think is right for him. I don't think he should be on Vanguard yet. Maybe later, by all means, but I think he's not... Like, the whole point, especially the Hunter Vanguard gig, is to educate other hunters, take hunters in and teach them how to be a hunter, and the ways of the world after you have come back with no memories. And I think Aldrin himself is... Not Aldrin, sorry, Crow is still himself learning how the world works and his place within it. So I think position on the Vanguard wouldn't be right, but I think accepting him would be nice. It's of my personal opinion that we should accept him. Obviously, I know some people's opinions differ there, but I think definitely we should accept him. He's a Guardian. He, in a past life, he may have been known as Aldrin Solve, and he may have done some truly terrible things. However, this isn't Aldrin. This is the Crow.
I kind of wonder if the Crow's in the unique spot where we actually know his past life. Because, like, we have no clue what our Guardians
do. There's only 2 or 3 other recorded cases of Guardians working out who they are. Obviously, Anna Bray being one. But it wasn't like we knew. It was a case of she worked it out because she had a card on her that told her. It was like, hey, you're Anna Bray. And she went and looked into it. And then obviously we have a few exos remember the collapse.
Okay.
Like Cade spoke about that in, I think it was the man they called Cade. But there was a law book where he spoke about the collapse and experiencing it.
Gotcha.
Wait,
Does anyone else have anything that they want to weigh in on Season of the Hunt before I potentially throw in a new slew with hunt-related things?
Yeah, I would.
Go ahead, Lou.
So, for me, the season has been pretty dull. I don't do any Wrathborn hunts anymore, for the most part, unless I'm trying to get my pinnacle. Other than that, I just don't do anything with it. The thing that Paul Tassi had talked about, I've been literally saying since the season began. It was kind of like an intuitive feel, mainly because the way that I had deliberated it was, in the trailer, Spider said that we could have anything that's in the room. Probably gonna have Crow in there while we, finish up the High Celebrant. And of course, being that we are a Guardian and he is a Guardian, kind of stuck under this guy's, I guess you can say, quote-unquote protection. And the fact that once we do finally talk to him, he did tell us that he did rig Glint with a bomb. I just felt like after hearing that, we're probably going to get him as our reward, because it only makes sense. Then after that, we did have a leaked video come out some way, somehow, of that actually being like the thing that plays out, and I was like, well, I just said that this was it. I just wish that I had said it sooner. Other than that, to what Brick had said, I do agree somewhat that is kind of lacking, kind of in comparison to the Season of Arrivals, because in Season of Arrivals, we pretty much had that major build-up. Okay, the darkness is finally coming. We're gonna have to deal with that, and we saw Savathun playing around with her spindly fingers. Then moving into Beyond Light, we had, for I guess lore lovers, we did have something adequate, but for others that aren't too much into the lore, it was kind of lackluster, especially with the fact that Aramis was just frozen at the end. And then when you finally get into the season, it's just dealing with the Crow and hunting down Zivurath's lackey, pretty much. It doesn't feel like it's anything exciting and new. It's more so pretty bland, which I don't have a problem with, but at the same time, I'm expecting that the ending is going to be worth it, and that the next season is going to be something a little bit more interesting in the fact that now he's free and we'll have something else to be going after. If I'm not mistaken, based on more leaks that we had, probably going to deal with more so the Dreaming City some way, somehow, because one of the Techians was the cover page for that. But if it's not, regardless, I still will be looking forward to that. Hopefully having a better activity as well.
Yeah, speaking of activity, I don't know, goalkeeper, how do you guys like these Wrathborn hunts? I've been kind of bored that it's just been the same, like, 3 options for, like, since week 1 of the season, but maybe you guys like it more.
Nah, same here.
Yeah, no,
I've had the season pass maybe a week, and I'm already a little bit bored of the fact that it's the same 4 things.
We're supposedly supposed to get the ball options too with rookies, but I don't know how that can make these any more really exciting how slick they are.
Yeah, so I guess we're all kind of over the hunt part. Hopefully the next season has a more entertaining activity like Menagerie or Sundial. Because like being able to do these solo things where I could like hop in and do 5 hunts in like 15 minutes because of by myself, which is a little boring. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. That's kind of nice. So all right, so moving on, unless anyone has anything else they wanted to add with Season of the Hunt.
No, I'm good.
All right, we'll start with you then, goalkeeper. Well, let's do the Dawning. I mean, we're on a temporary thing. Why not talk about the Dawning? How's everyone, starting with goalkeeper, enjoying the Dawning, community quests, whatever it might be?
Starting off with the Dawning, like the start of it, I'm not gonna do much of this. And then I've ended up like going over hundreds of cookies the past few weeks, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting. Pausing, getting the stuff done, but it's just a simple event that's not really that involving. Because you just get everything you do by doing Destiny in general, so it's a nice little event to somewhat tie over the community.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Yes. This is my first Dawning because I started back in July. It's been interesting. I've been a part of major games in which they had a winter holiday event, and it's a lot different. For Destiny, I feel like the idea of having cookies and things like that and giving it to people, or Ribbon, that was kind of fun for me, especially having to put it in the wall and go to her and give her the cookie. But as for the loot, I'm okay with Glacial Chasm. I enjoy using it here and there, but that's really the only main thing that I'm using. Avalanche is not something I'm after. Cold Front, I do have one that I like using, but I already put it in my vault and I have better weapons to use, so I don't use it. It's a bit lackluster in that form for me, because few previous events that I've played in different games, they kind of had a similar monotonous activity. The goal of doing that was to get multiple different weapons that whether it fits your playstyle or you're just deciding to get it so you can trade it with someone or give it to someone, that was more so the goal. So whenever someone saw it, it kept you hooked, because at the end of it there was a chance that you would get one of those things. But yeah, I just feel like the loot is lacking in that department. Another thing that I have a bit of a problem with is that for this event's ornaments for the hunter, since I'm a hunter main, I'm not too happy that most of the shaders for the event just look very, very unappealing on the ornaments. I like looking really nice. I tend to buy at least one of the ornaments for each event, and this one has been just not my thing, unfortunately. I do like it on the Warlock. I also have a secondary alt character, which is a Warlock. I also have a Titan, but I don't use the Titan. But for my Hunter, that was kind of like my biggest thing. I like having nice colors, and unfortunately so far she can't really show off the dawning colors for her current ornament. Other than that, I think I'm pretty okay with the dawning. I enjoy it. The communal event is pretty stressful though. We're almost there. Hopefully we do finish it, and hopefully there's a good reward at the end. Hopefully not an heir apparent or something like that. But yeah, that's the gist of it.
So you're okay with having ornaments like almost all of the dawning stuff in Eververse? I'm just curious if that bothered you at all or not.
Kind of. I like that they have the ability to have it for Bright Dust, except for the Merrymaker ornament for Monte Carlo and the Glee Barrage for Xenophage. I feel like that's not fair, because why just keep it strictly for that? Why not just let everyone have the ability to have it accessible for them? But I don't have a say in how they do things, unfortunately. So I'm just like, okay, I might as well just grind out a bunch of the cookie quests, bounties, I mean, for Ava, and just get a bunch of Bright Dust and buy whatever I want to buy. So that's the gist for it for me. Yeah.
All right. Anyone else want to weigh in?
It is also my first dawning. I prefer it to Festival of the Lost, but that's just because I didn't enjoy the Haunted Forest and the fact I had to go into the Haunted Forest. I think it's been good. It's been fun to just go around, do all these things, have different bounties, to get to see and get some use out of some of the NPCs and vendors we don't get to see as much. Some of the ingredients are a bit funky, but I wouldn't recommend drinking Vex milk. But hey, look, if you want to give an Exo Vex milk, that would be an interesting one. I mean, it's certainly fun. I've certainly enjoyed it. I think it's been a nice little seasonal activity.
Cool. How about you, Goalkeeper?
But I started off the conversation.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so this will have probably a relatively nice-ish tie-in to a couple of the remaining topics. So something I usually get a little annoyed with is how rewards are set up. So you mentioned like the Xenophage ornament and Monte Carlo, and I asked like about armor ornaments and whatnot. And I want to know why we can't have either it's like you do, I don't know, hypothetically 100k Nightfall, you have a chance at the Xenophage ornament. Or complete a raid and you might get some cosmetic during, you know what I mean? Having some way of trying to focus, target, getting some of the loot at least. Because I know Bungie wants to try to at least make some money. So I'm not sure why so much of it is either behind the community quests, because when you turn in those rewards, you have a chance at any of that stuff dropping, other than probably those two weapon ornaments. So why can't we just put in some kind of a focus thing? I recall it used to be like the first dawning. I want to say it was where you could earn all this stuff. I don't recall having to buy it. It was like you could buy it, or you could follow this quest line and earn it, kind of like Solstice of the Heroes. I don't know if you remember Goalkeeper or not.
I don't know. It was the first time.
Oh, okay. So I don't know. I just feel like there should be more stuff where you can try to earn it instead of just always giving them money. And like probably keeping Xenophage and Monte Carlo for silver would make sense. The armor kind of makes sense to keep since it's either Bright Dust or silver. And I don't know why the rest of it, like ghost shells and all that stuff, isn't available. I can't imagine the bulk of their income from this event came from people buying ghost shells and emotes, Like I imagine almost all of it came from armor sets and probably Xenophage / Monte Carlo. Xenophage probably being the bigger of the two. So that's just me, because that kind of ties in with rewards in general in Destiny, and then we had that community event where we're seeing obviously people just aren't playing a whole lot, And I did a video recently where I was like, "Is Destiny 2 dead?" And here's ideas for loot reward stuff. So, are you guys happy with how like how you get rewarded for playing activities? This might be interesting with having myself as since day one of Destiny 1, and then with a couple of folks who at the very least were gone for a while and came back in the last handful of months to see what folks think. So what do you think, Goalkeeper? We'll start with one of the more seasoned dudes. You happy with the rewards and how it's all set up?
Generally, I'm fine with the weapons. I use most of the weapons sometimes. I'm not missing any weapons that I would want necessarily, since most of the weapons I got sunset weapons I use anyhow. So I'm happy with the loot because most of it is what I like and can use, and it's pretty accessible to me.
All right. Well, then, what do you think, Lou?
Like I said before, I'm kind of used to having a more variety of weapons at my disposal to try to go after. So with the current situation that we do have, it's not as alluring as it could be, mainly because of that. So I do hope and wish that in future installments, seasons, things like that, that they do, I guess, increase that number. Yeah, that's the main thing for me. I just don't like the fact that I can't see a list of things that are coming with something that's coming out and being like, okay, I want to go after this, that, and the third, and then go after it and have a goal in mind. Because right now, the main thing that I'm usually playing Destiny for is just playing with my clan mates and enjoying the fun times that we can have. The only thing that's close to appeasing that kind of desire that I have is Deepstone Crypt. Other than that, loot rewards are kind of lackluster. I don't have no interest in trying to get this, that, and the third.
So before Brick Dude gives his input, let me give you guys Corgi Queen, my wife, and I kind of came up with. She did most of it. But if there was like a reward structure, let's look at like Nightfalls, for example, where if you get 25,000 points, you would have a guarantee like 50 stat roll piece of armor. Like if you got armor, then you know it's going to be 50 stat roll. If you got like 50,000, it'd be like 55 stat rolls or something, and it kind of progresses on up with like the pinnacle being if you get like 200,000 points, because they know people can do it, so they could technically go up as high as like 150, 200. Then you would have a chance for any armor that drops to be like 65 stat roll minimum. So what did you guys think of if there was to be things like that? So like that could transfer over to raids. Like the faster you do a raid, like each encounter with like lesser wipes and whatever, because I'm sure they can factor that in. Like the chance of guaranteed loot being like better and better goes up. So like if you fly through a raid in like 30 minutes, you would have everyone would for sure have much better loot than someone that took like an hour. You get what I'm saying? So how did you guys like or feel about a kind of a system? And then you're getting rewarded, you're still playing with folks you know, and then there's more incentive because you kind of know what you're going to get. If it's going to be weapons, each tier would be like, because there's 4 columns, I think, because you got, or maybe 5, you have sights, barrel, magazine, and then usually 2 weapon perks. So yeah, 4 or 5, depending upon the weapon, if sights is an option or not. And then you could have the same tier thing be. Out of those 4 or 5 options, each tier would be like 1 roll or 1 perk will be a god tier. It could be barrel, it could be magazine, weapon perk, and then like each tier up like adds in like another thing. So like for flawless trials, for example, you would by the end maybe have a guarantee if you go flawless, 3 perks are god tier. So, and this whole current conundrum with trials is right now is that if you go flawless, is that the piece of armor, or I guess right now weapons that you get is going to be dog shit. because there's no like RNG factor. Like you might get a really good roll summoner, but since you can't use those adept mods and anything besides adept weapons, like you're kind of stuck up a creek without a paddle. It's like you might have the world, like I don't know, like slide shot and tap the trigger on summoner. Like, I don't know. That's like a horrible sounding roll to me, and you can't do anything about it. So if they were to have integrated tiers where, like, I don't know, you get the flawless, 3 out of the 4 perks are going to be god tiers. So you know that weapon's going to be really nasty. You just don't know what perk it might be in. Would that be something you guys would find more intriguing to try and do more stuff and go after more things?
I think the issue with weapons being like a guaranteed quote-unquote god tier is god tier depends on how you play. So what might be a really good weapon for one person won't be that much use to someone else. Yeah, of course, there are some types of weapons that are always useful. Like, it's always useful to have a first in, last out with auto-loading Vorp. That's always going to be useful. But one person might really like, say, a Grave Robber or a Swashbuckler because they use their melee a lot, whereas someone like me really prizes something, a good weapon with Demolitionist. Because I use my grenades a lot, and I use my grenades to get my super back. It's the sort of the build I have. So for me, if something has Demolitionist, it's far more useful to me than it is to someone who doesn't use grenades that often.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there will be, with this idea, there's really no perfect. Like everyone's going to have different preferences, and there's different sites. Like the trusty I have is rated by Light GG as being like the best trusty you could possibly have. It's range, accurized rounds, wellspring, and reconstruction. But other folks don't like it as much as I do, and so that'll change. Like, I guess in the perfect world, something like Trials would be whatever rolls that drop on are going to be PvP oriented in theory, if this was to play out how I'm thinking. So like Bungie, because Bungie can look through, they know what perks are more desired for PvP as opposed to PvE, and then they can maybe have it be Nightfalls, like it's going to be more PvE oriented, so you're going to potentially have more things that either do more damage increase or grenades, that kind of thing. But would it help though to know, because my wife also suggested, she's like, I run into so many people that have no clue what rolls are good, and then delete one, then someone's like, yeah, this is a great roll, and the person feels horrible. They had no idea it was god tier. So some potential benefit of the tiered system would be you would kind of get a better idea of what perks are actually considered to be really good.
I don't
know if you guys have run into that.
I think if you look at what they did for stuff like the Prismatic Recaster last season, and to an extent the rewards for Wrathborn hunts this season, you can sort of skew your armor and your weapons in a certain way. Obviously, there's been quite a few people a bit annoyed by the whole the systems idea of a higher than average roll. Because yeah, it might be higher than average, but it doesn't mean it's good. Like, oh yeah,
most of the rolls I've gotten when I've done higher than average are like top 50s. And I don't understand it.
52 technically is higher than the average player base's armor, if you count in like what's in the vault and all these other players and stuff. But it's certainly not worth the reward slot. Putting something like that in and getting a 54 out. Like, you want a high roll if you're doing something like you want like a 60 plus.
So maybe the weapon part of the idea we had maybe isn't as clean, just because, you know, it's a little trickier with weapons because you got PvE and PvP focused folks and people like me who suck at both. And so what about the weapon or the armor part, where like these different tiers, you know, at minimum you're going to get like 50 stat rolls, 65, that kind of thing. Would that make it worth like sweating out a Grandmaster? Because like I know for me, like maybe Goalkeeper if you want, because you're more of a seasoned person too. And like I know for me, Grandmaster is way more effort than it's worth, because I could run a Master Nightfall in like an eighth of the time with almost none of the effort and get pretty much just as good as a reward as I would for doing Grandmaster. And so I would think having these different tiered things would be more incentive, which I guess these adept weapons they're coming out with for PvE on Grandmaster would be kind of the same thing, but they gotta be real damn good for people to put up with Grandmaster.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think, goalkeeper? You've been around the block more. Would these like tier targeted things be more helpful?
I think so. Most of the activities that with especially computers I do a lot. The Grandmaster I have not jumped with and it's not worth it at this point in time. Other than like, oh yeah, you want the contest skill, go do Grandmaster, but you can get pretty much the same rewards on Master versus Grandmaster at this point, so making the tier system might make it worth it to be Grandmaster.
Yeah, because like I don't know if this would be like too powerful. If you could have like Master be like 63 stat rolled armor, and then like Grandmaster would be like 67. Neither one's like insanely different from the other, but those couple of extra perks, if you get that right roll, might take you from having like 9s on most of your stats to be able to pull out 10s on a couple. Alright. How about you, Lou? I'm not sure what you feel like with rewards and stuff. I just know I feel like it's a lot of just playing stuff, and at this point I'm just like, whatever. I just don't play because there's no point. It's like, maybe I'll get lucky. I just want the eyes of tomorrow. Otherwise, so what do you think, Lou? With having something like targeted loot, do you think more people would be like, yeah, let's farm out raids and nightfalls and get good at the game as opposed to struggle busting because it doesn't matter?
It could work as a option, though I would personally be more interested in something like we had with the Prismatic Recaster, for sure. Mainly because I was able to whittle down specific weapons, especially once I've fully gotten through the reputation for it. Just when I needed a weapon at my disposal, say, for example, one of the big things that I needed was a really nice guillotine, and I ended up getting a Jagged Edge, Relentless Strikes, and Whirlwind Blade one with an Impact Masterwork, of course. And I got that through constantly just working on those two options that was there for it. You're
gonna laugh. I just got one of those. Like,
it's good.
Like 3 days ago, I just got it. I've been hunting for one for a long time. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. So I like that form of rewards, though I would also like the option that you gave for kind of like events, especially for the Dawning. If you were to do certain activities and then get the chance of getting specific things out of it associated with the Dawning, that would actually make it more interesting and worth playing, because you don't have to spend money. You don't have to work to get Bright Dust to then spend the Bright Dust. You can just play the game and then potentially get all the things that you want.
Yeah.
That just sounds like a better thing in my eyes. Other than that, it just sounds overall good. Like, I enjoy that type of option and suggestion.
Like, Bungie knows that 6,000 is expensive. Like, you guys know how much I play. I'm already like season rank 300 or getting really close to it as we're recording. And I spent all my Bright Dust, 6,000 of it, on an armor piece. I've been hounding out bounties like it's cool, trying to get back to it, see if I can't get it for my Warlock, and I think I'm only at like 2,000 or 3,000. Like, it's taken forever, despite how many bounties I do, trying and stock up that Bright Dust. And so I was like, they know that it's really steep. So that's silver is the entire thing. Wow. So what if there was like a slew? Like, what if we had like for example, something where like armor stats were set by score or activity or, you know, difficulty or whatever. But if there was something you got at the end where you could turn in that resource to like the appropriate vendor. So like, I don't know, do a 100k Nightfall, you get something you take to Savala, and it'll give you a random weapon, but at Savala there's some kind of a way to be like, I want to have a chance of either like a bygones or whatever happens to be relevant at the time, or pick a perk. Would that be like a nice combination of the two? Because hopefully Bungie would eventually see this and be like, yes, find a way, give the people what they want. Because then there's still that RNG. You still have to do the activity. The weapons are more of a gamble about good or not. Whereas armor tends to be pretty well set how people want, like regardless of PvE or PvP.
I agree with that. Yes, for me at least, because then it would give the vendors some type of utility. Because currently, you just have them around for pretty much bounties, and we already know how everyone feels about bounties in the current.
And you can use the app now too.
Yeah, that's also that. So they're even more so irrelevant to the current way that we play the game. So it's like giving them some type of life would be nice.
Alright, this just popped into my head. Alright, so you know how we got like these thousands of tokens that if you're like me, you just don't turn in because you're like, why would I turn these in? I get garbage. What if they had it where it was like a couple of different like rank up tiers? Like one rank up tier, you turn in tokens, you get a chance of like, I don't know, like a couple of weapons. And it was just like 4 different tiers you could turn stuff up. Like it wouldn't like be individual ranks. It's just, you turn in tokens to one of those, you got a chance at something. That's almost, I think that's almost better than what I mentioned earlier, because that already uses a system they already have. It'd just be throwing in like options for what you get when you rank up.
Right. I think that would be good too.
Anyways, enough with that stuff. So let's go ahead. If everyone's cool, does anyone want to say anything else about rewards or anything like that?
No.
No, I think we're good.
All right. This is the trials part. This is the part where people in the comments, if anyone comments, are like, "Y'all just suck. Just get good." In my opinion, Trials is already heading down the same as Trials of the 9. It'll be dead within a year. It's going to be gone, out of the game, and Bungie's going to be like, screw it. It's not worth it. Trials is never coming back. That's my. If you guys want, I can get into more into it. But how are you guys feeling about Trials? If you do play it, why? And do you like it or do you not? And if you don't play it, why don't you play it? Let's go with. Let's do Brick first. It's been a little while for Brick.
So I played my first Trials game with Lou and Eternal, with clan members, last week. Just because I never had a chance to do it before with previous groups of people, because I didn't have experience, so they wouldn't take me. I think I enjoy the fact it's a challenge. I enjoy being challenged in that respect. I think it's good fun to be challenged. Sure, the rewards are good. I think if people don't play it, I can entirely understand that. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I'm not particularly great at it, but yeah, like I said, I'm just there because it's a challenge, and hey, I enjoy it. For some reason, maybe, I don't know, but yeah.
I forgot that you guys maybe weren't around for Trials of the 9, so just real quick, briefly lay out what happened to it. So Trials of the 9 started, everyone played it, and then people matriculated off because they were either getting tired of getting stopped or just didn't care about the reward. And then after a couple of weeks, because of a slew of reasons, but a lot because of recovs and sway teams where they're like must have a 57 KD inside of Trials of the 9, stuff like that, the player basis went down and down and down until virtually it was like only a couple percent of the community played it. Bungie ended up being like, you know what? Oh yeah, people didn't like the rewards either. They're like, they're stupid, and then Bungie went, you know what? Screw it, we're done. They got rid of Trials of the 9 for like 2 years. And so what's been going with Trials of Osiris was back in the spring of this year, 2020, in like February-ish with Season of the Worthy. Trials of Osiris came back. A whole bunch of people played it like the first 2 weeks. Third week, the same kind of thing happened where people figured out a system, exploited it, and made it no fun for the majority of the folks that were playing. Folks stopped playing it, and numbers went down and down and down, and eventually, before we had this current break that was like a month with Beyond Light, and it was down to something like, I want to say it's like 8 or 9% of the community, if you were able to somewhat accurately get rid of people paying for it, were actually playing, and people were pissed off at the rewards. And then you had that month, it came back, even less people were playing it the first week than the last week of Trials before Beyond Light, and people are still pissed off about the rewards with the adept weapons, because the adept weapons now, they get like an adept weapon mod, and they're only weapons that can have it, and currently there is backup mag, and I think it was targeting adjuster for last week. And so far, people are finding that these different mods have double-edged swords. So I'm not sure what the one for backup mag is, but I think the counterbalance one is like you get crazy stability at the cost of range. So it's kind of like those Iron Banner perks. If you guys know, like Iron Gaze, you know, where you get like really intense like stability, but you lose a ton of range, is like that kinds of stuff. And so that's where we're at right now with trials. Is a lot of people are either like you have to have a 5 KD in trials, or people are like, I just want to get the bounty and then get the hell out. So sorry, I just realized that you guys maybe weren't around for trials of the 9, or maybe the listeners weren't. So having a brief history of the two might help a little bit.
Yeah, like like I said, I haven't played a great deal of trials, but I know people who have, and I've heard stories and whatnot. I think it's because something like Trials of Osiris is only accessible to a player base that can get a reliable 3-man team together, and a reliable 3-man team is good. I think I know it was this way with other groups I played with. They would basically only take the same 3 people. There would be one person who would take in 2 other people who they knew were good, and they wouldn't give anyone else sort of a stepping stone and a chance to get into it, because they knew they wouldn't do well for a few games and it wasn't worth their time making someone else better.
And there's that, and there's also just to throw in there, lots of folks will raid report, or not raid report, but the equivalent of it for trials. And folks will be in like, well, this overall their trials KD is a 1.2, but this weekend it's a 0.6, and so they're obviously dog shit this weekend on the map, so we're not going to take them. And it could be because they're just playing with friends or whoever they want. And if you play with people who suck, like it's really hard to have a good KD. That plays into that as well. Is if from like their perspective, is that they're like, oh, well, if I have a couple of really crappy games, then I'm going to have a harder time getting in with better groups.
Right.
So our PvP, they get toxic as hell. Like, my wife thinks I should do a video about like the culture of the PvP community, because I've done enough to have at least seen some of it.
PvP can get toxic, which is quite sad. I think like
PvE can as well. It's just a different kind. It's more like, oh, you don't have xenophage, well, you can't do damage. See ya.
Which equally isn't like as good. I think. Yeah.
Well, did you have anything else you wanted to add before Lou gets to give his thoughts?
No, go ahead, Lou.
Okay, well, for me, let's see, what would I say about trials? I had attempted last season. We did run into a few cheaters, which was not fun. For me, the adept weapons aren't that alluring, mainly because I know I'm never going to be able to go flawless, because that's just not how it works for my type of playstyle, especially dealing with the amount of toxicity that PC does have. So I'm kind of meh to it. I know that we have to do a run this weekend for Astral Horizon, but other than that, we're just getting Astral Horizon and then never touching it again until there's another weapon that we want. So
is Astral the 3-win reward?
Yes.
I might need to try and see if I can get my hands just to get a better one. But anyways.
Yeah, other than that, it's like I don't have no real reason to go into trials. Other than that, I don't want to go into it because it's just stressful. I'd rather just stick to what I usually stick with, because why not? It's more fun to just do regular Crucible or stick to Iron Banner when it's out than to go and, you know, deal with trials. Yeah, that's the gist of it. I don't really have much else to say about it. I hope
so for you, if we had better rewards throughout the whole thing, as opposed to like the best one like having a huge difference between everything else and then flawless. Like it maybe would be more worth you trying to go for it if it was more balanced throughout the whole thing.
To be honest, being that I'm getting better at PvP Destiny, I should note that I am a third-person shooter player. This is my first time in a first-person shooter, especially when in multiplayer, and it's very sensory depriving for me to play. So I don't get frustrated, but it is kind of hard for me to do my very most best in a game like this. So it's not that I have that, too many hurdles. I am getting better, but my issue is that we still have cheaters. We still have a kind of complicated matchmaking process. People tend to still be very toxic, and I don't have time to, try to slave away at getting a weapon just because they want to try to bring some allure to it, if that's the experience I'm gonna get along the way to getting it. If you ever ask one of our clanmates, Eternal, about how I feel about trials, he will tell you in the most simplest terms that I honestly hate having to go in and pretty much just get 10 losses. I don't have the interest in going in and just lowering my KD itself because of this very stressful activity just to get a weapon. I don't have no interest in that.
Won't care about the KD if yours is already garbage. Mine. Okay. Goalkeeper, how about you, man?
Honestly, I don't really have anything on trials. I'm not interested in trials. I'm not a big PvP player in this game. I'm more PvE focused, so I have no interest in going to trials for anything.
Is there any way if Bungie was to be like, let's try and bring in more people? Is there anything they could do for you to be like, you know what, it'd be worth the misery?
No, there's plenty of god tier weapons in PvE for me to just ignore PvP weapons.
Gotcha. Alright, yeah, so that kind of was what I have thought, but Goalkeeper, is there anything you want to talk about? You got to be kind of quiet today. If there's anything you would like to bring up.
I mean, we also talked about the sunsetting super stuff.
Oh, that's right, sunsetting and all that. You can take it away, Goalkeeper.
In all fairness, I am somewhat okay with the super idea if they can somehow bring it together. But it's not going to happen for 2 years, so I'm not going to be too worried about it until they have something more concrete about it. But generally, yeah, a lot of these supers clash with the identity of what that super is supposed to be. I already sort of showed you the difference between Well and Dawnblade, but Dawnblade is supposed to be the sword fire. You're supposed to be destroying enemies, and Well just comes in and completely destroys the identity with, it doesn't destroy, it heals. And then the other supers, I think, are kind of fine with their identity somewhat, but yeah, the Nova Warp is somewhat useless at the point because Bungie nerfed it to the ground and aren't doing anything with it, but it's less identifying for the Void Super than Nova Warp Bomber, so I would be fine with that gone. But a lot of the Forsaken supers, honestly, if they were going to remove anything, a lot of the Forsaken supers are less identity defined for each character. So if any supers be removed, I feel like the Forsaken supers would be the first ones to go. There could be an argument where Spectral Blade is more Hunter identity than Tether is, but generally I'm fine with the idea. As long as they do fine, if they do good work with the aspect of fragments with those like supers to make the super still useful. That would stay around.
So you're even with all the sunsetting of weapons and not getting that many back, you still be okay. I mean, I know it'd be a long ways off, like probably a couple of years. But you be down with losing some supers?
I'd be fine with it. That's great. You don't want to see them go, but if they had to for the longevity of the game, I'd be fine with it.
And what about the folks that say for something to be a true MMO, you can never take away? It has to you just build on it.
Well, true MMOs always do stuff. That's just how it works in the end. World of Warcraft is like the biggest MMO, I think, and that loses stuff all the time.
Oh, gotcha. Well, then those folks that are trying to tell me true MMOs never get rid of things, I guess I should look up World of Warcraft then. Alright, Lou, what do you think about sunsetting? It could be supers, content, whatever.
Okay, I have a very opinionated perspective on the whole sunsetting thing. Firstly, in regards to the whole sunsetting supers, yes, it's not going to come in a long time, if ever, because it is in Fantasyland, as we were told. However, for me, I tend to base things based on actions, and we just had a form of sunsetting recently that was piss poor and stressed out the entire community. We're not happy with it, and no one ever asked for it to happen. So the fact that this is the case and that we've already seen a form of sunsetting occur currently in the game and it's not good, hearing that they want to do the same to supers is just more so an icing on the cake for just a slew of discontent. For me personally, I don't want to see anything else pretty much leave the game, because right now it's pretty bare bone. Last season I was playing a lot more than I am now. In fact, it tends to what ends up happening more often than not is I'm just in orbit looking at my phone, seeing what's happening if I'm not playing with my clanmate. So that's not really identity defying or what have you for me. I just feel bored. I didn't get a chance to really I guess you can say go through all of IO, so that was a bit of a letdown. I did get a bunch of Leviathan things done, but I did not get to go that much into Menagerie because I didn't know how Menagerie worked, and because I didn't know how it worked, I just avoided it for the most part until the end of the season. So it's like a lot of things that I could have had a chance at, delving into, they took away from me. As a new player, that's kind of unfortunate. Now, on the lore side of things, it kind of makes sense. I can be like, okay, that yes, this is happening because of this, that, and the third. But if that did not happen, and they didn't take the lore in that route, I would still be in this kind of state of, I don't know what else you want me to do, because I went through Shadowkeep and I went through the Moon. I went through Forsaken and I have no interest in a Tangled Shore because I'm not a huge fan of Spider. I can't really see myself going and staying in the expansive area that is the Ditty for long periods of time. So it's like, that's already 3 locations not really viable. Europa is kind of okay because we still have new content for it, but when we finish that, what's going to happen with that? Nessus, I never go on Nessus unless there's something major that I must do and it's there for me to do. So it's like I don't have things available at my disposal anymore. It's kind of disappointing. As for the sunsetting of weapons, Luke Smith did say that he has encountered what I call a reproductive behavior of sunsetting. Currently, players are finding good high-tier weapons but seeing that they sunset in the next season, so they just delete them, despite the fact that they're viable for the rest of this season and the next. And I'm personally like, if you find that upsetting and frustrating to have to deal with, you put yourself in that situation in the first place by introducing this. That's one. If you haven't done that, people would still be using these weapons. And two, if you're trying to figure out a way to circumvent that behavior, it's very simple. Put in a system in which we're able to bring weapons into the next season. So increasing a weapon seasonal cap, though you should make it a little bit expensive so it brings in a level of value and treasure to said weapons and armor, like people have said they do to their weapon. So, for example, I have a 7th Seraph's carbine that is going to probably sunset next season. I love this. I love this carbine because I love carbines in the first place, and it's just identity defining for me. Being that I'm not going to be able to take it past next season, it's kind of disheartening because it's like I already masterworked this, so I put in a bunch of materials into that weapon. I use it almost exclusively in my kinetic slot, unless I have to switch to Wither Horde or another important exotic, or pulse rifle when I need to have my energy slot open. I'm not gonna have that ability to bring it with me. So having that ability to bring it with me would kind of make it worth it. I know one of our clanmates had actually offered for it to be 2 Ascendant shards to increase its seasonal cap. I told them that would actually be a good way of doing it, because it takes a while to actually get those golf balls, and being able to get 2 of them and then putting it to a weapon, you must really treasure that weapon to put 2 Ascendant shards to it. So that's what I feel would be a great way to circumvent that stress that he gave himself and the team, because no one asked for this. The community did not ask to have their weapons sunsetted or put in a system of sunsetting. So yeah, other than that, I think that's the major gripes I have with it.
Well, that's all very good stuff. That Ascendant Ball idea I like, either way. The Ascendant Shard thing.
Yeah.
Alright, Lou, what do you think? Actually, not Lou, I'm sorry. Brick Dude, yeah. My bad. Great part.
I think first, I'm trying to remember all the points I thought of. I think, first of all, there are 2 things that should never be sunset, and that is supers and exotics. Because both supers and exotics, especially exotics, exist to sort of sit in and fill a specific role within the game, that if you remove, you would then just have to come up with something else to fill that role. Which would then just be the same exotic people would have to work for again, which just seems like annoying, pointless. And I think supers, you can change them, sure, but I think the way supers work, both in the lore and the game, they should stick around. You know, people aren't using them as much. Okay, people aren't using them as much. You want people to use them more, make them better. So, just why people aren't using it around them a bit, because that really will then impact the percentage of players that do use it and do like it. Like, I know when, I can't remember if it was Goalkeeper or who said about taking away the Forsaken supers, it's like, especially as a hunter, I feel then like in Crucible, you take away a lot of our options if you take away the Forsaken supers, because you take away either that roaming super or that AoE super. Like, obviously, like, people can use Golden Gun, that's fine, but if you can't land your shots, your options for super are arc, and that's your option. Whereas like with the Forsaken supers, it gave hunters like a roaming super with spectral blades, and it gave us blade barrage, which is a great. I see 3 people there, and I want them all to die now. Which I think is, you know, is a good thing to have. I think it's an interesting one with sunsetting like legendaries. Because yeah, it's a shame. Like I have, and I do have a bit of stress about it, but like I'm a bit worried about it. I have an old-fashioned I've been carrying around for a while. It's masterwork. I've put lots of time on it. It has demolitionist and explosive payload. That's going away next season. I have to find another kinetic hand cannon just to be like my old reliable. Which is annoying because I put time and effort obviously to like, you know, masterworking it and making sure it was viable for endgame content. So yeah, but then again, equally, if you give people, like, I think it's good for shifting the meta, because especially in a game like this, stuff like Crucible especially, you end up getting set in a meta, and if you don't have that, you are at a massive disadvantage. And I think the ability to sort of shift things up a bit and make people think and try something new is great. But I don't know whether removing content is the right way to do it. It might be, it might not be. I genuinely don't know. But I think there are some things, especially with like the Shadowkeep weapons, removing those and sunsetting those, like that only came a year ago. It's not like that's been sitting around for ages.
Yeah, when Luke mentioned Nova Warp, I was like, y'all did that. It was amazing for a while because it was strong as hell, and then you nerfed it to basically useless, and people, not surprisingly, just stopped using it. You haven't touched really Nova Warp in any significant way since. No one's gonna really use Nova Warp. Occasionally, I've run into someone on Crucible who does use it.
Yeah, I have a friend that uses it.
Pretty rare.
Yeah, it is a case of a lot of the issues that Luke Smith specifically seems to have brought up are ones he created like a year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, and then sometimes they're like, well, money is the problem. And I'm just like, fools, y'all made $1 million on the first day of the dawning from Eververse. Like, no, you can't be making like millions every like couple of months and then saying money's the problem. If that's the case, then y'all are spending it weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, does anyone have anything else they want to add in before I close this out?
Yes. Something I realized that I had forgot to bring up was if they have a problem with super and they want to make them better, they don't have to buff the super intrinsically. They can do what they did this season with, I guess you can say, the exotics that we get from the Lost Sector. For example, Dawn Chorus. That made Bottom Tree Dawn Blade apparently more viable now because of the fact that you can get your you keep getting super from your kills, and on top of that, it's increasing the damage from the blades that you throw. So it's like doing that is more so a more viable method of kind of, I guess, centering out the well, not centering out, more so fulfilling and making the supers better. Like if we had a chest piece for Nova Warp or a head or something, if we had an armor piece, an exotic armor piece for Nova Warp that gave it some additional perks that made it viable, that would make it more useful and a lot more interesting to a lot more players. On top of making it, I guess you can say, cosmetically interesting, because people tend to enjoy what they wear. So it's just things like that they can do. It's kind of like, I feel like they don't want to do it though.
Yeah, that's probably because they had supers in the past that had exotic armors that paired directly with them that gave you like super energy back, which was, I think, would be was when you mentioned exotics was like the first. Like, oh yeah, they could just make like you wear this exotic piece, you get Nova Warp back sooner, or something like that. But they got rid of those because those were too strong, or they nerfed them into the dirt. Like I used to love the tie-in Ursa Furiosas for Banner Shield. Those are pretty crazy popular, and I had gotten some really gnarly rolls for armor. And then they're like, "Yep, now you hardly get any super back." And well, there goes that super now. Like so, like no Titan uses banner shields. It's basically always bubble, because then it's just the defensive part. So yeah, they can find some way. That'd be pretty cool. It could be either a super regen faster if you get kills with that super, or I don't know, make some ability better, like maybe the increase the tracking of bottom tree Dawnblade or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Nova Warp can like extend the radius of the heavy attack or something. Good, excellent point. Well, if everyone's all good, I will do the end tags. Everyone feel like they said what they would like to say?
I was just going to agree with Lou on the whole exotic armor exotics that are based on buffing supers and changing supers in some way, as well as I've heard some people say about giving the light-based supers the stasis treatment, I think was what I heard it called in one respect, and basically giving us mods to work for and systems to input that change stats and the way the super works, making it more customizable towards your personal style of play.
Yep, aspects and fragments are supposedly coming at some point for the light supers whenever they get around to it. Goalkeeper, you got anything? I know I'm going to see you in a raid in like a half hour, but you got anything you'd like to close out with?
No, the aspects and fragments of the light supers are basically coming when they talk about reworking, so that won't be another couple years at least.
Yeah. So we got a long time of stasis being king is pretty much what we got going, especially in Crucible. Oh man. Alright. Well, thanks so much guys for taking the time to join us. I know you all guys are all busy. Goalkeeper's constantly doing teaching raids, and I'm pretty sure he's doing the raid I'm helping somebody out with in like a half hour. So I want to thank everyone too for watching. Again, don't forget to subscribe. If you watched the last about 90 minutes of this, must mean you're entertained, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Other ways to support the channel are down below, and if you want to be in the clan so you can appear in these videos and just get more help, use the Discord link down below. I myself now play on Steam and Xbox, but we have clans for Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and thanks to all my wonderful folks, Goalkeeper, Lou TV, Brook Dude, and that was it. That was everybody for joining us on this escapade. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Have a great week, and happy grinding, y'all. All right, you guys can. Thanks so much.
No problem.
That's right. Always happy to help with podcasts and whatnot.
Yeah, and you guys are welcome to think about if you would like to like take over this, especially while I'm gone, because then you could just let Corgi know and send her links and stuff for like Craig, and she'll put things up. I think she will if she can, anyways. You have to talk with her first.
Right.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to help. I've done a few podcasty things.
Yeah.
And streaming
Sure, there's
things.
also this raid coming up. It's just the standard raid. Everybody in the post knows what to do. Okay.